What if Caiaphas, the high priest, had discovered a secret so impactful it could change everything we know about crucifixion? It was in the dead of night, before his death, that Caiaphas made a shocking confession. He saw the empty tomb, found a mysterious scroll, and what was written on it haunted him for the rest of his life. What was this message? Stay until the end to find out. Time had been cruel to Caiaphas, once a powerful high priest of Israel. He was now but a shadow of a man who once ruled over the destiny of the Jewish people. His wrinkled skin, sunken eyes, and labored breathing were marks of the weight he carried. Not just the weight of old age, but something far worse: guilt. In the darkness of his chamber, illuminated only by a flickering oil lamp, Caiaphas would awaken every night, sweaty, heart racing. The same dream, always the same. A man in a simple tunic, with wrists marked by the nails of crucifixion, would look at him. Jesus' eyes were calm, serene, but they carried something Caiaphas could not forget: absolute knowledge. He knew Jesus knew, but knew what? That was what Caiaphas had spent decades trying to erase from his mind. The tribunal, the cries of the crowd, the condemnation. He did what was necessary, didn't he? He was the guardian of the law, the protector of tradition, but deep down, a profound fear gnawed at him. What if he made the greatest mistake of his life? The wind blew cold between the stone columns of his chamber. He sat on the edge of the bed and rubbed his face. It was late at night, but he could not sleep. Silence was a prison, and within it, the cries of his conscience echoed mercilessly. The world had moved on, but Caiaphas had not. He knew his days were numbered, and worse, he felt he would not leave this world in peace. There was something he needed to say, something no one had ever known. But to whom would he confess? Who would believe him? It was then that a sound made him tremble. For the first time in years, he was not alone. The silence was broken by slow steps in the stone corridor. Someone was coming, but who would dare visit him at such an hour? His body stiffened. The air seemed heavier. The omen that something was about to happen overwhelmed his spirit. When the chamber door opened slowly, with a creak, Caiaphas knew the hour of truth had arrived. The door opened slowly, creaking like a sinister warning. Caiaphas remained motionless, his heart pounding in his chest. Someone had entered. The light from the oil lamp flickered, casting distorted shadows on the stone walls of the chamber. A cold wind passed through the half-open door, sending chills across his skin. Who would dare visit him at this hour? Who was there? His voice came out weak, trembling. He hated showing fear, but his body no longer obeyed him as it once did. The figure stopped at the entrance, enveloped in shadows. It was neither a servant nor a priest. The man took a step forward. When the dim light touched his face, Caiaphas felt a chill. He recognized him, but from where? It was a man of simple appearance, wearing a dark mantle, a short beard, and piercing eyes. His expression was serene, but carried an invisible weight, a gaze that penetrated the soul. "You know me, Caiaphas," said the man. His voice was low, calm, but full of incredible authority. Caiaphas felt his stomach tighten. Yes, he knew him, but his mind refused to accept the truth. "What do you want?" His voice came out firmer than he expected, but his body betrayed his insecurity. His hands trembled. The man took another step forward. There was no fear in him. "The truth," the man said. Caiaphas felt a pressure in his chest. The truth, a word he had avoided for decades. A truth he had buried deep in memory, but had never died. The presence of that man was not normal. It was as if time had stopped, as if, in that instant, he stood before an invisible judge, and there was nowhere left to run. "What are you talking about?" Caiaphas tried to buy time, but the stranger did not avert his gaze. "You know," said the man. Caiaphas felt a chill. He knew, ever since the day he sent Jesus to the crucifixion, that day would not end there. The Nazarene's words had haunted him all these years. The stories of his resurrection spread like wildfire. But what no one knew was what Caiaphas truly witnessed that night. And now, this man was there to hear him say it out loud. Silence weighed like a storm about to break. "It is time to speak, high priest, before it is too late." Caiaphas's throat went dry. He wanted to flee. He wanted to deny it. But something inside him knew there was no escape anymore. The air within the chamber seemed heavier. The mysterious man remained still, waiting. His gaze was firm, relentless, as if he knew Caiaphas could no longer run from the truth. The high priest swallowed hard. So many years had passed, but now everything was coming back, as if it were yesterday. You want to know about that day, about the trial, about Jesus? The visitor didn't respond. He just stood there, unwavering, waiting. Caiaphas closed his eyes. He didn't want to remember, but the memory pulled him back. The sun had yet to rise when Jesus was brought to Sanhedrin, the council of chief priests. Caiaphas sat in the seat of authority, surrounded by elders, scribes, and Pharisees. The trial had to be quick. He already knew what the verdict would be. The priests brought forth witnesses, accusing him of blasphemy. They said he intended to destroy the temple. Others claimed he declared himself the Son of God. But, strangely, Jesus remained silent. He did not defend himself, did not argue, did not seem to fear anything. This unsettled Caiaphas. He had condemned many men before, but had never seen anyone like this Nazarene. Then he rose and walked to where Jesus stood. The silence in the hall was absolute. Everyone waited for his words. Caiaphas looked Jesus in the eyes. It was then, at that exact moment, that everything changed. He expected to see fear, submission, guilt, but he saw none of that. Jesus' eyes pierced him like a blade. There was no hatred, no terror, but there was something that gave Caiaphas chills. It was as if he already knew everything, as if he were watching destiny unfold before him, and there was nothing that could be done to stop it. At that moment, Caiaphas faltered. For an instant, he felt a fear he had never felt before. Jesus' gaze contained something he could not explain. It was a gaze of someone who knew all the truth, and worse, of someone who forgave him. Caiaphas felt anger. How could that man dare look at him like that? How could he not be afraid? He needed to put an end to it. It was then that he shouted the question that would seal Jesus' fate. "Are you the Christ, the Son of the blessed God?" The entire hall held its breath. Time seemed to stand still. Jesus then spoke for the first time. "I am." A murmur ran through the Sanhedrin. Those words were enough to condemn him. But Jesus did not stop there. He looked directly at Caiaphas and said something that chilled him to the bone. "You will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the Mighty One and coming on the clouds of heaven." It was at that moment that Caiaphas realized Jesus was not there to defend himself. He knew what was happening and accepted his fate. Caiaphas opened his eyes. The mysterious man was still there, waiting for his confession. It was at that moment that he knew. Caiaphas murmured. He was no ordinary man. There was something different about him. The visitor tilted his head slightly. "And yet you condemned him?" Caiaphas shuddered. "Yes, I condemned him. And now, I live under the weight of that decision." But the worst part was yet to come. What happened after the crucifixion was something no one had ever known. Something he had kept to himself all these years. And now he would have to tell it. The chamber was silent. The mysterious man said nothing. He simply kept his fixed gaze on Caiaphas. The high priest felt his body grow weak. That moment was approaching. For years, he had refused to think about what happened 3 days after the crucifixion. But now, in the presence of that enigmatic visitor, there was no more escape. He had to tell. The city was restless. Rumors were spreading. Some said Jesus' body had disappeared. Others claimed his disciples had stolen it. But the words that haunted Caiaphas the most were those spoken by the Roman guard themselves. There was an earthquake. A light shone inside the tomb. The stone rolled away on its own. The body vanished. Caiaphas did not believe in rumors. He needed to see with his own eyes. That night, when everyone was asleep, he went alone to the tomb of Jesus. The darkness was pierced only by the light of the moon. The cold wind blew between hills, and each of Caiaphas' steps echoed in the silence of the early morning. He arrived at the tomb. The soldiers were no longer there. They had fled or been silenced. The large stone sealing the entrance was rolled away. Caiaphas took a deep breath and stepped inside. The tomb was empty. The place where Jesus' body had been laid was still there, but no one was there anymore. There were no signs of struggle, no traces of theft. It was as if the body had simply vanished. But then, he saw something no one else had ever known. Something he had never told anyone. There was a scroll on the stone where Jesus' body had been laid. Something had been left behind. With trembling hands, Caiaphas picked up the manuscript. It was ancient, older than any scroll he had ever seen. The letters were neither Hebrew nor Greek, yet he could understand every word. He who conquers death carries with him eternal truth, and those who deny him will bear his shadow until the end of time. Caiaphas felt the ground give way beneath his feet. He read those words over and over again. The message was clear. Jesus was not dead, and worse, the fate of those who had condemned him was sealed. Caiaphas held his face in his hands. His body trembled. The mysterious man said nothing. He simply waited. I saw the empty tomb. Caiaphas murmured. I saw the scroll. His hands were sweating. His chest rose and fell with short, irregular breaths. And since that day, I have never found peace. The visitor said nothing. He simply waited. You never told anyone about this, Caiaphas. No, replied Caiaphas, because I knew what it meant. If I told, I would have to admit that he was who he claimed to be. The man nodded slowly. But now, Caiaphas, you can no longer run. It is time to tell what truly happened. The high priest ran his hand through his graying hair, for he knew the truth could not stay buried forever. The air within the chamber was heavy, laden with tension. Caiaphas was on the verge of collapse. For years, he had buried that secret deep within himself. But now, faced with that mysterious man, he knew he could no longer hide the truth. The scroll, that piece of history that should never have existed. The one he found in the empty tomb. The one that haunted him to this day. Caiaphas looked at the visitor. The man's eyes seemed to know everything before he even spoke. I never told anyone. Not the Pharisees, not the Sanhedrin, not even my family. The visitor remained silent, waiting for him to continue. The scroll I found in the tomb, his voice trembled, was not written by the disciples. It was not a fraud. Sweat dripped down his face. His body shook. It was the first time he had uttered those words aloud. The writing was not of this world, but I understood every word. He closed his eyes, and as if being pulled back into the past, he began to recite the words he had never forgotten. He who conquers death carries with him eternal truth, and those who deny him will bear his shadow until the end of time. The room seemed to shudder. The candle flames danced as if the very air had felt the weight of those words. Caiaphas ran his hand over his face. He didn't want to believe it, but he knew it was real. Yet there was more. Caiaphas's voice was choked with emotion. He wanted to stop. He wished that visitor would vanish and let him die in silence. But the truth demanded to come out. The scroll continued. The world will see the light and reject it. Those who deny the Son of Man will not escape. They will walk in darkness until time ceases to exist. A chill ran down Caiaphas's spine. Those were words of condemnation. The visitor stepped closer and, with calm authority, asked Caiaphas if he understood the meaning of the truth he had been denying. Caiaphas, overwhelmed, admitted that Jesus had been right. He was who he claimed to be. Decades of justifying his actions crumbled under the weight of guilt. He had not condemned a criminal, but the truth itself. Faced with the visitor's question, whether to bury the secret or reveal the truth, Caiaphas knew he could no longer run. He confessed aloud for the first time that he had lied, condemning Jesus while knowing he was innocent. He recounted seeing the empty tomb, the mysterious scroll, and his profound message that confirmed Jesus had conquered death. The next morning, Caiaphas confronted the temple priests, revealing the truth. Jesus was the Messiah, and nothing could change that. His admission provoked outrage and disbelief among the priests, but Caiaphas stood firm. The truth, once released, could not be buried again. Though the world reacted with mixed emotions, Caiaphas found peace. He had revealed the message that could change everything, proving that the truth always finds a way. The legacy of Jesus' resurrection spread like wildfire, unstoppable by earthly powers, cementing the eternal power of his name. And now, the truth of Caiaphas endures, echoing across the centuries. The choice lies before each one of us, to accept the truth or to attempt to ignore it. But remember, the truth always finds its way. If this study and reflection on Caiaphas' story touch your heart and help you understand more about the power of truth and the resurrection of Jesus, subscribe to the channel. Share this content with friends and family so that more people can be impacted by the Word of God and strengthen their faith. Leave a like, activate the notification bell so you don't miss any videos, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Together, let's spread knowledge and truth. May God bless you and your family. Until the next